Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another video. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major winter storm that includes a snowstorm as well as an ice storm and even some severe weather, including some tornadoes. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here is your latest watches and warnings. And how often do you see Texas just covered with winter storm advisories? We've got winter storm warnings all the way out in West Texas, right around the Big Bend area. And then we even have a winter storm watch as we get into portions of upper central Texas. And they even extended a winter weather advisory as we get into like places like Vernon and Wichita Falls. And that winter storm watch will extend all the way up to Oklahoma and even into Kansas and Missouri. And then out ahead of it, we have a heavy rain event with a flash flood watch that includes the Dallas-Fort Worth area and points eastward. So let me kind of walk you through the surface maps, and we're starting to see model congruency of this system kind of coming together. So all the data is kind of beelining towards a major event, and this will start setting up over Texas this afternoon, getting in tonight. And we can see that secondary low that's developing right to the south of Big Bend, already dumping some heavy snow out there. And we got a heavy rain event setting up out ahead of it. And look at this. I mean, you can just see it just training from northeast, from Texas, all the way up to Pennsylvania with some very heavy rain that is setting up with this low pressure that's going to be the culprit of this event that's going to set the stage for the flood risk as well as the heavy snow risk in West Texas. So as we extend the view, as we go into tomorrow morning, this low pressure is going to intensify. It's going to pull into some of that Gulf moisture. It's going to wrap around. It's going to pull in some of that colder air at the surface. And it's really going to start deepening and really start to pick up those heavier snow bands into West Texas, where there's some pretty impressive amounts that the final total is going to be coming out of West Texas. But out ahead of it, we're going to be talking about a major rain event and a flash flood event in points Dallas-Fort Worth and points eastward. But as we kind of expand the view, you can kind of see this low pressure kind of put the brakes on. I mean, a lot of these systems have been progressing pretty fast from west to east, but we're starting to see a little bit of blocking up in the northeast, and that tends to slow these systems down and kind of lags behind. And what that does is it kind of enhances that low pressure system and taps into some of that colder air for longer periods of time, setting the stage for this event that it's about to unfold in Texas. And we can see the snow out west. It will make that transition to kind of a rain and icy freezing rain event out by towards places like Midland, getting into central part of Texas. And this will keep pushing northeast as we go into the day tomorrow on Thursday. But as we get into tomorrow night on Thursday for New Year's Eve, that'll start to deepen. This area low pressure will continue to keep pushing northward, dumping some of that heavier rain in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I don't expect any flurries or snow or anything like that in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It'll be all points westward. But as you get into places like Vernon or maybe Wichita Falls, yeah, I am expecting possibly a couple inches of Wichita Falls and maybe 2 to 4 inches in places like Vernon. But of course, points westward from there, we're talking 6 inches, 12 inches, even some double-digit totals as we extend into the Big Bend area. But that low pressure will continue to lift north. And where that low pressure is lifting, it'll draw into some of that colder air, that warmer air from the Gulf. It's snowing at the higher levels, but then once that warmer air will tap into some of that mid levels, it'll be snowing and then kind of melting, and then you'll have that freezing rain event setting the stage where that demarcation line falls. into portions of the Panhandle by then, getting the upper portions of Oklahoma, extending into Kansas as well as Missouri, but then all rain on the south side as this will continue. And I do think we'll start to make a pretty major event for ice. And as we get into portions of Missouri, especially central Missouri and points northward, I think it's going to be a major ice event for you guys up there. And that low pressure will continue to move off to the northeast. But back behind it, I mean, you can see, look at the temperatures by Friday morning. This is New Year's Day morning. I mean, you can see where the snow will fly with the snowpack and the snow laying on the ground and clearer skies by then. We're talking widespread teens out into the Big Bend area where that snow will fall. And you can kind of see where we are in the 30s. A lot of this will be kind of a rain, icy snow mix. But then, of course, all rain as you get into central and then points eastward into Texas. But another issue is the snow. I mean, look at the latest NAM model. This is the latest mesoscale model. And as you look at this, you say, hey, this might be overdone a little bit. I do think it's overdone in a lot of spots up to the north. But back by Big Bend area, I do think we're going to have a bullseye where that low pressure just kind of sit over about a 36-hour period. And we're starting to see some congruency now where we could pick up about 20 inches. I mean, we're talking possibly 20 inches of snow in West Texas and isolated spots out there where that low just starts to just crank out some heavier snow. Look at the congruency in the modeling. I mean, here's the latest European model. They're calling for 20 plus inches of snow out there in the Big Bend area. And by Midland, possibly up to a foot. By the Midland area, and then lighter amounts as we push further east. But yeah, I mean, even the latest GFS model kind of implies the same way, and it maxes out about 21 inches. So there's 3 different model aspects that are showing 20 plus inches, and even the Canadians is on board too. So you're talking 4 model aspects of saying, hey, we're going to get 20 plus inches of snow somewhere in Texas, out in West Texas. So that is just incredible as this low just starts to really crank out. It's already snowing, and I expect to continue to snow for the next 30 plus hours out there. So that will add up in a big way for sure. But as we kind of expand the view, we'll start to be dealing with that low pressure system continue lifting northeastward, get it into Missouri by then, and dump in some heavier snows out in Kansas, and where that, like I said, that transition zone into dumping some all ice event potentially in northern Missouri. But another culprit we're going to have to be dealing with on the south side, unfortunately, is a severe weather aspect. I mean, this is a kind of a rare event for the end of December, but the Storm Prediction Center has already included an enhanced risk for severe weather with strong downburst wind, including some isolated tornadoes from New Orleans to Baton Rouge to Lafayette, all the way to Beaumont. For that area of enhanced risk, I do expect some isolated tornadoes to come out of this, because we're talking dew points in the upper mid to upper 60s, and tapping into that, some of that upper level winds, the spin, the rotation in the atmosphere will tap in and create those tornadoes, unfortunately, as this kind of lifts northeast. And then as this continues to lift northeast, it'll start to make that transition from kind of a rain icy mix back to snow again. So there's going to be a lot of areas. It could be rain, then transfer to sleet, then transfer to snow, then back to rain again. So this is a pretty dynamic system as this continues to move off to the northeast, and we'll start to make a little transition into some icy and freezing rain into Pennsylvania by then, with an all rain event on the southeast side, including the southeast as well as the Carolinas as this continues to push east. But by day 3, as we get into New Year's Day and beyond, we'll start to have that severe weather aspect that was enhanced risk out here by Louisiana, I do think it dies down a little bit, but there'll still be enough instability in the atmosphere. We could see some stronger, severe storms over the Carolinas from Tallahassee all the way up to Wilmington, all the way up to North Carolina as well. But then that storm will continue to push off into New Year's Day night with this leftover system. There's going to be a secondary low that's going to be forming on the backside of this, but there's no, with all the precipitation is going to fall, the atmosphere is just going to be kind of overworked, and whatever's left, this low pressure will try to wring out in the atmosphere. So a little bit of snow will fly out then. But yeah, if we kind of expand the view and the bullseye, how often do you see this over a several day period where Texas, out of the whole United States, is going to get the most snow? So yeah, there's going to be that bullseye out by Big Bend, potentially 20 plus inches that's on the table with this event, but easily a good swath of a foot or more as this expands, and then it'll kind of die down into lighter amounts in Oklahoma as well as Kansas. And then I think it's mainly an ice event for Central and Missouri with some snow on the north side. And then we'll extend into Illinois, where you picked up that first wave the last 2 days. Well, this will just add to those totals and continue pushing off to the northeast. But we'll also, like I mentioned, we'll also be dealing with an ice event for this system, where I do think from central Missouri to northern Missouri will be just inundated with ice, and it'd be very difficult to travel. So the best thing is to just stay home in this situation, and it'll be lighter amounts as we get into Illinois and central and northern Indiana, and then kind of even lighter than that into Ohio. And then it might pick back up again as it taps into some of that moisture from that Gulf flow into Pennsylvania and lower New York. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.